I never thought that this was like the best use of my time. I don't know how to run a social business, but now I'm working in things that I am much more comfortable with. I've spent my entire career doing, but I can still line the dot to see where my contribution is going.
Welcome back, everybody. Rich Brubaker, Shanghai-based founder of Collector Responsibility, here today with another edition of the Sustainable Ambassador podcast. Through this series, I speak with sustainable ambassadors about the work they're doing to solve the challenges that we face in environment, social, economic, and communities. I'm extremely excited to be joined by Stephanie Choi, sustainable and impact investment strategist at UBS. Through this conversation, we're going to talk about how she got into this, the tools of impact versus sustainable finance, the work that she's doing, and also how she looks at her career. I know a lot of people in the finance industry, but also looking at coming into the finance industry, are trying to figure out what are the tools, what are the paths, what's the work that's being done. And through this conversation, we're going to talk through some of those issues and hopefully just have a lot of fun doing it. Stephanie, thank you very much for joining me. Thank you very much for joining the community. It'd be great to hear a personal introduction, the work that you're doing.
So yeah, I'm a sustainable and impact investing strategist in the chief investment office for UBS. What that really means is that within the private bank, we have a team of us who tries to design the most credible products for our clients to invest sustainably. We conduct research, deep research into defining themes, drivers for opportunities, investment opportunities, and we also work directly, of course, with clients who may have questions on how to design their own sustainable portfolios and journeys. Really, we're just here to serve the asset owners who have an aspiration to start implementing sustainability and impact in their portfolios.
Is this really for your clients, or is this also for the bank itself as well?
In terms of the products and services we face clients, what you mentioned, kind of the philanthropy part is actually housed under UBS Optimus Foundation. On my side, which is the private bank side, we're really just working with everything commercial rate or above. So, and this for us is actually like kind of, it's a thin red line, because sitting in the investment office, if I start talking about subsidized rates or like compromised returns, then we're actually putting our entire kind of CIO advisory at risk, because that is ultimately our job is to invest, and our job is to make money and generate attractive returns for our clients. So right now, everything on our sustainable and impact investing shelf, like whichever asset class it's in, they have to meet the performance benchmark of a traditional asset. So, and on that basis, the fact that, we have been defending this thin red line and our SI products have by and large performed, I think says a lot about the maturity of the investment landscape today.
But that thin red line doesn't come for free. Like, you have to do a lot more work to defend it. So what's the additional lift that's required to make sustainability at the same return as everything else?
SI products do take a lot more work. Our team is 100% dedicated to SI, but we also have funds teams that do the diligence and like landscape gathering. And they basically shared with me that, vetting, diligencing and onboarding an SI product can take up to 30-40% more time. So you have to do the intentionality. You have to do like ESG survey or fund assessment surveys at onboarding. It's reviewed every single year. We also then look through to their portfolio holdings and try to sense check whether it meets what's on the tin. So there is quite a lot extra that has to be done.
What are the major trends that you're seeing in sustainable finance to help you believe that the more money you throw at this actually having a wider impact on the challenges that are faced?
Actually, my day-to-day job is like 100% endorses my belief. This is not to say that it's a good thing. Insofar as like my day-to-day job has become a mishmash of responding to regulatory consultations and regulatory tightening and new standards, like, how's the ISSB going to affect, like all of that, right? And that's not necessarily fun job. Like, my job is like, over the past couple of years, it's been distinctly not fun. But the fact that, all of these have come through, it's actually because sustainable investing has become so big. Like we have become so big, we have become a target. We are being pushed to clean up and be more transparent. And this is actually testament to how much we've already achieved. So
Right.
the progress, like the growth path, is never going to be linear. It's going to be start, stop, start, stop. And right now, this area, this period of consolidation and all the increased scrutiny, to me, it's actually one of these kind of plateau consolidation periods that enables us to go to the next phase. So part of that is also celebrating that, hey, we managed to grow a lot in order to justify this level of scrutiny.
What's the scrutiny catalyzed by? Is it catalyzed by the risks and say like climate change is a risk to the financial system or to the energy system? Or is it by the opportunities that are being missed on the other side of that equation? Because I really view everything as like, you're either seeing it as a compliance issue or you're seeing it as an opportunity. Which one do you think is driving things more?
Okay,
Yeah.
I would say that there are a lot of different things that are happening, and they're all jumbled together. So part of it is the financial risk. So this is the value at risk of changing business practices.
Yeah.
And that is like, the TCFDs, TNFDs in the world. This is what a lot of regulators are trying to make as a norm for the entire industry.
Yeah.
So here, people are saying that, so the regulators are actually saying that you, like fund XYZ, you need to tell me if climate change worsens, what is the value at risk of your portfolio, because it's investor protection. The second bucket is greenwashing. They're saying that, oh, you guys are labeling it. So again, for investor protection, but not from a financial loss perspective, but from a scam perspective. They're saying, okay, how are you justifying your claims that you actually do use like sustainable and sustainability and impact related data? And then there's the final bit, which is the opportunity side. And this is where it gets the least stick. Like it's not a tangible deadline for compliance.
Right.
And that's why a lot of people are failing to recognize that. But things like, the ISSB coming through and the fact that we can potentially have much more standardized data is actually encouraging extremely dramatic increase in disclosure rates. So according to KPMG, Asian corporates from 5 years ago, I think it was something like only 40% of companies were disclosing sustainability data. As of 2022, it's over 90%. It's the fastest growth rate of any region in the world.
Backing up a little bit, what brought you into the world of sustainable finance and impact investment? Were you looking at as, say, a career at the time, or you were just interested in the idea of better, impactful finance?
Well, actually, I think it would take a way step back. My first job at Citi, where I spent 11 years, right? I was like a pre-GFC baby in terms of my career. And then kind of when the GFC happened, I was in London. I was working in London, and I actually saw the entire backlash and the rise of the ESG funds as we know it today. So these are like the Norges Bank, Robicos, leading institutional sustainable investors. And I like to think of like ESG as something like it's almost like once you've learned it, like once you're aware of all these information that's available, you can't unlearn it, right? How can we disregard information that's there? Because for investors, as institutional investors or as advisors, it's our fiduciary duty to actually make the best decision based on the maximum material information available. So ESG has always actually been in my heart. And then when I moved back to Hong Kong for personal reasons, I'm from Hong Kong. Back then, ESG was not, like, people didn't even know about it. Like I was looking at the trends, I was looking at new product launches, and I thought, this is the time. Like this is actually the time to go into this because the movement is going to take off in Asia. But at the time, my then employer didn't really agree. So I ended up leaving. And I thought, okay, if I'm going to leave my very safe Gucci career, then I might as well just go all out. And so I went straight into philanthropy and impact to see if I can, make a career there. And I learned a lot, but ultimately I realized that for me, if I want to make the most of my skill set and also fulfill like some sort of impact or contribution to the global sustainable investing movement, then I probably need to be in a place that has more scale.
Mm.
And that's why I joined UBS.
What's core to your job in terms of the skills, the knowledge, the certifications, the trends that you need to be paying attention to, gathering and deploying so that the money you're putting into the market is headed in the right direction?
I think there are two layers of different work. The first is on the macro. Like we need to be able to bucket where all of these projects and opportunities are. Is it going to
Mhm.
be value creation? Is it value preservation? Is it just trying to say that, things are changing? We need to de-risk versus if there's an opportunity and it's bankable and we need to make money. I think this happens at the top down. You need to figure out you need to be able to you need to be comfortable working with vast data sets,
Mhm.
and really trying to make the data talk to you. I actually don't need to hire another sustainable finance expert. I like we want to hire data science. We have so much data. We have like our data set covers 13,000 companies. For each company there are like up to 500 data points. It's a lot. And
Yeah.
so, at the macro level, it's really trying to like pass through all the data, pass through all the consultation standards, all of that, and trying to identify quite efficiently,
Yeah.
where can I make money, what needs to be done as like a red light, and then the others are kind of nice to have. And then at the bottom up, what we're really like missing are people who can do like traditional financial analysis and integrate sustainability issues at the
Okay.
same time.
What's the mix? Is it a good banker who's empathetic to the sustainable challenges, aware of it, and really wants to deploy a tool against it? Or is it the rabid sustainability person who just learns how to be a banker?
Effectively, the people I know who are hiring sustainable investors in an investment function,
Hmm.
those candidates are first and foremost established investors.
Hmm.
So they would much rather hire someone who has a track record, who has delivered a track record of extracting returns, than like teaching them the tools of sustainability.
Current work and how you view impact investment, sustainable finance, high net worth. Like, how do you view these? Not pros and cons, but like, what are some reflections?
I think people have different interests in this, right? So I think some people really want to be like hands-on, tangible, and you want to know the exact credible impact of every single activity that you do. For me, I'm much more big picture in that I need to know that the tools I'm working with are credible. But I want to move billions. Like I don't want to be stuck in like, the
Yeah,
$500,000 tranches,
right.
because I don't think that is necessarily, firstly, what excites me, and secondly, it's also like I think different people have to play different function to get this going.
To build a fund of say 20, 40, $60 million, okay, you're lucky if you get 2% off that. You got to do a lot more work than a traditional fund, which just, transactional, looks at the spreadsheets. You have to go and verify the impact. And so a lot of my friends who ended up in impact ended up leaving and finding other avenues to do that. And I was curious, like, is that why you kind of left impact? Was that maybe you learned what you needed to and found a new way to achieve your mission, but through traditional finance? Like, how did that play out?
Do I miss the times when I'm like working directly with social enterprises and really like, trying to solve problems that I can see? Obviously that was an
Yeah.
amazing part of the journey. But for me, I never thought that this was like the best use of my time, because I'm a financier, like of sorts. Like I don't know how to run your business, much less a social business. So like who am I to give you
Right.
advice? But now I'm working in things that I am much more comfortable with, that I've spent my entire career doing. But
Yeah.
I can see, I can still line the dot to see where my contribution is going.
Is the impact you're trying to have at scale within the finance industry, or the way that finance does its work and supports a transition in climate change or poverty alleviation or the issues themselves? Like, is finance the tool, or is it the problem that you're focused on?
So I think the way I think about it is like I'm not doing this out of the goodness of my heart. But like obviously, I feel very passionately about this. I think it's very important.
Yeah.
But I also think that sitting where I sit, and also like if the mission is to bring scale, then actually it's not about the ethics of it, the morals of it. It's about the fact that, from a very geeky standpoint, the world is changing. And
Mhm.
all of these are no longer factors that you can ignore. And we're starting to price this. So
Right.
from my perspective, like in like obviously like my heart is in this, as in like I left my previous career. I really feel passionate about this. But when I'm communicating with others, it has to focus on the bankability of this, right? So the
Hmm.
fact that this is no longer a fringe movement,
Right.
and the fact that there are clearing ways, so for example, the FX situation that I outlined earlier, at no point are we compromising returns. We're just trying to tweak and design solutions such
Yeah.
that everyone involved gets something out of it, which is the
Right.
way I think finance is supposed to work. So
Like, what would be your advice to someone who's in the finance field already, maybe has a few years or young up and comer? They want to capture this opportunity, this trend. What are some of the things that you would give them advice to make that small shift from finance to sustainable finance?
allocate consistent time and try to work with people who are there already. I think this like sustainable and impact investing space is an incredible place filled with people who are so kind and so generous in
Mm.
sharing. This is so different from traditional finance. And so, find a mentor. I found like a really good mentor in Philo who connected us, of course.
Hmm.
um yeah, find a good mentor, or like find a course. If you deal better in course, then fine, but you have to be consistent about it and just allocate time, keep an open mind, and then try and use that experience and insights to start integrating it bit by bit into it.
Should they get certifications, go back to school?
I didn't, but that's because I feel like I want to know a lot of different things. But there are some people who like depth, and I think
Yeah.
for those, then like 100% go for it.
All right, last question. You're talking to aspiring professionals or students who are not in the finance sector yet, but are looking at this. Should they go the traditional approach to start with and then transition in, or should they skill up and go after that sustainable finance program?
Go for traditional first. You need that as the foundation. Like
Mhm.
you need that as a base for everything that you do.